coming to you from the Brick City, Hebron, North Dakota, from my hometown. We're going to talk about the Hebron Brick Manufacturing Company, the oldest one in the state. Also, the scenic Old Red Highway, which is the most historic highway in the state. And we'll also talk about Brick City Promoters, which keeps the business community thriving here. That's coming right up. Hi, welcome to my hometown, coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota. And I'm here now with Jacob Krein. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Jacob is a bit of, he's a jack of all trades. He does teaching, photography, music, piano tuning. And when I ask people who knows history in Hebron, everybody said Jacob. So here you are to talk about history.
Yep.
Well, let's start about, tell me, how did Hebron get here to begin with?
So when the railroad was put in here in the late 1870s, there was a section house about 1.5 miles west of Hebron called Knife River Section House. That was there for about 2 or 3 years, and then the railroad decided they wanted the people that were in charge of the section house to locate a spot for a town. So in 1884, Ferdinand Leutz went hunting north of Hebron on a hill and decided the valley down below looked good for a town. So that was decided that was where Hebron was going to be in 1884. But prior to that, it was originally going to be called Prohibition City. And that was to attract some of the lady immigrants, so it looked more appealing to them that it was Prohibition.
That is funny.
Yeah.
You were almost called Prohibition's town, so wow, that is hilarious.
And then it was changed by Reverend Koch, who thought the valley looked a lot like Hebron in Palestine.
Oh,
so
that's
it's actually
beautiful.
named after the biblical area.
And then it has prospered, and I have to assume that being close to the railroad made a difference.
Yep.
So yeah, just with, I mean, even we're going to get into this later on the show, but like with Hebron Brick, they prospered because they had that transportation going for them. Mm-hmm. And you have an historical museum here in Hebron, right?
Yep.
What do you have in there?
All kinds of stuff, from old machinery to clothing, art, things families have donated over the years. But the museum itself was only started around 1990 and kind of organized by our curator who passed away a couple years ago before his 99th birthday, Henry Mischie. And he's kind of the one that got the museum up and running and going. So there's a little over 8,000 square feet.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's big. I had the pleasure of visiting. You showed me all around, and there is a lot in there. And I mean, so much of the history. I love taking a step back in time, and you obviously do too, because you like history. So one thing that you mentioned to me that I think is very, very interesting is that Hebron seems to be a gathering place for artists and musicians. And that goes way back, doesn't it?
Yeah. So there was a family. Do you want me to talk about the Krauth family right away?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So Emo Krauth was a guy from Eberbach, Germany, who actually was a very artistic man. He had a furniture company, and he had won awards like in Paris and some other places in Germany for his designs. So he ended up moving to Hebron because of his health, the drier climate. And then he continued some of his sketches and paintings, and then he also ended up collecting a little over 10,000 butterfly specimens and actually finding a new species. So his collection now is, I think, between NDSU and the Heritage Center in Bismarck.
Wow. And
then his daughter, Anne Krauth, she married a Conrath. She was a very artistic woman too, and she did mosaics and paintings. And then her 2 kids ended up being very good artists as well. And her son, Ted, ended up in New York for a while. And there's like smaller circles in New York where he became really popular. So he's got some sculptures that are in schools there to this day, paintings in museums, and then they had an art gallery just on the west side of Mandan for a while for their family, which closed in the last 10 years or so.
And I mean, it's interesting that certain areas of the country, just kind of artists and musicians will gather, but alongside with the history and with some successful businesses. So Hebron really is unique in that way. And I want to talk about, getting back to history, is Fort Sauerkraut. I didn't know about it until I was learning about Hebron, but a lot of people come to see it. What is that about?
Well, during the Sioux uprisings, I think in 1892, there was rumors going around that there was going to be a hostile attack from the Sioux in Hebron, so they had started preparing by building a large fort. It wasn't really a military fort, it was more of to protect the townspeople. The one that's up there now is considerably smaller than the original, but during 1892, there was scouts out looking along the horizons for Native Americans coming, just in case, so they could warn the townspeople ahead of time. So a lot of the women and children went to Bismarck or went up to the fort to take shelter. So at one point there was, to the north of Hebron, a big group of Native Americans coming, and they could see it from a ways away, and ended up being friendly Native Americans. So they were there to help Hebron. So
it was just a rumor, fake news.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But the fort still stands.
Yep, and the sauerkraut name comes from actually one of the founders of Hebron, Charles Kraut.
Oh.
So it had nothing to do with the food.
Okay. Yeah, because that's a good German food, right? Sauerkraut. Yeah. So it's a funny name for a fort, too.
Yeah.
So getting back, we were talking about the music and the art. We talked a little bit about the art. But the music, you play classical guitar as well as photography and piano tuning, but there's a lot of musical talent here and from more than just one family.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I just interviewed Gwen Sebastian on our regular show, and she's a successful country music singer. But there were the Tibor brothers also, and you're related to them. One is your grandfather. Yep. Who were they?
Well, there was 14 children. I got the privilege of knowing 13 of them. There's only 6 alive now, but I'm pretty sure all of them played instruments at one point. But they started in 1946 with some of the older kids, and they were all named alphabetically. So from 46 to about 2006, there was about 60 years of music from the family. And then now their offspring and grandkids and great-grandkids continue to play. But they played all over the country and had a song, I think it was number 95 on the Billboard charts in 1976.
Wow.
Country Western Billboard charts.
That is remarkable when you think about it. And I know they had a recording studio here in Hebron. So did they record their own music here?
Yep. When they first started, they recorded in Minneapolis at Sound 80, and then they built their own recording studio around 1977.
And they were very talented. As a matter of fact, we're going to go ahead and end this segment with some of the Tibor Brothers music. So thank you so much for joining me, Jacob.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll be back and just right after this break with Ladies of Another View, coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota.
Like petals falling apart, speak once again of my love, my own broken song empty.
My Hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by Bob Burkmeyer Construction Management, the Hebron Herald, Mayer Theater, Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
It's time to get educated, people.
And that's just what we're doing on our new show, Educated. Every day we bring you the stories from inside the classroom that mainstream media won't cover.
So stay educated with us, weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Central Time on Beck News or anytime online at beck.news.
Welcome to the start of Main Street, the Main Medical Building located at 315 Main, downtown Minot. The unique shops inside offer body and mind healing, a safe haven for mothers-to-be, mixed martial arts, hair salons, massages, counseling services, and much more. Also keep a special lookout for a brand new Jamaican-inspired restaurant opening this fall. Take a stroll inside the Main Medical Building and uncover the unique shops and experiences that lay within. Discover the start of Main Street at the Main Medical Building today. Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Hebron, a traditional small town surrounded by clay buttes and rich farmland. A community with thriving businesses and comforts not always found in small towns. Surrounded by scenic western North Dakota countryside, just minutes from I-94. Hebron is a family-friendly place perfect for anyone to live, work, and play.
We look forward to serving you here at your local community bank.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson. My hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by Hebron Brick Supply, West River Telecom, Farmers Union Oil Company, Glen Ullin and Hebron.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, coming to you from Hebron for the My Hometown version. And I'm here now with Jared Sopier, who is the Vice President of Manufacturing for Hebron Brick Company.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hebron Brick is a big deal. If you're from North Dakota, you probably know that, but we have viewers across the country. And it is the oldest manufacturing company, right?
That's correct. Hebron Brick was started back in 1904 by Ferdinand Lutz and Charles Weigel. They built the brick plant by the railroad. Clay reserves are about 10 miles north of here.
So when you say clay reserves, you get the clay from the ground and you turn it into brick, right?
Correct.
Is it just one kind of clay or do you get different kinds?
We have 3 different types of clay. A whiter clay that we burn to make the yellows and white. Then we have a darker clay that gets our reds, browns. So our clay is fired, the coldest we fire anything is 1,970 degrees. And we go all the way up to 2,170 degrees.
And that's how you turn clay into brick.
Correct.
But tell me, who has the idea that they're going to make a brick company and sell bricks? That's, you know, that's a unique business. And so how did that all come to be and how did it work so that it was so successful?
Most everything was built, you know, back in the early 1900s. There was 26 brick companies in the U.S. for the war housing industry, and then over the years, Hebron Brick survived 2 world wars. In early 20s, they had a big fire in the plant, so they rebuilt after that. So it's been you know, a lot of trials and overcome a lot of the different things to survive throughout the whole century.
It is fascinating. I've gone on a tour there quite a few times. I brought in groups there, and just to see step by step by step, you know, tell me the process. How does it start and how do you end up with a brick?
So a quick summary of the process of it, mine the raw material. It goes through a grinding plant where we size it down to a certain particle size or smaller. From there, it goes over into the manufacturing side, which is mostly automated. Add some water, goes through the extruder to push out into a long column of a slug. And then it goes into the setting machine that cuts each individual brick. And then they're stacked on cars by 2 robots. From there, it goes in through the drying process, which is about 2.5 days to dry. It starts 80 degrees all the way up to 300 degrees. From there, it'll start into the kiln. Takes another 2.5 days to go through the firing process. After that, they come out, they'll go on another track where they get unloaded. That's our manual part of the operation. There's 10 people that stack the brick. So each person handles about 12,000 brick a day. They do the quality control.
Wow.
So they're the eyes of our company.
And then these bricks, they go out far and beyond North Dakota, right?
Correct.
Where are they selling Hebron brick?
We manufacture 30 million brick a year. So we have our own branch locations in headquarters in Fargo. We have stores in Grand Forks, Minot, Bismarck, Rapid City in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and one in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. After that, we have distributors throughout the whole United States and also up in Canada.
And I know there's people watching across the country, so if they want to know if they can get some Hebron brick, how do they find out?
So the easiest way for them to find out is to go to our website, hebronbrick.com, and when they look at the list of colors in there, they can find their nearest distributor. That'll point them in the direction they need to go. And
you told me before the show we were talking that you have one of your largest distributors in New York, right?
Yes. King's Distributing out in New York is one of our distributors out there. We have all the way through from New York to Washington, down to Texas, Florida. One of our distributors has sold our product over in Japan.
Wow.
So we have some of our thin veneer over in Japan.
Fascinating. And tell me, why is your brick so good? Tell me about the quality.
Just with our raw material that we get, we can produce a lot of different colors. You have a good management team. Past owners have been really innovative on different products coming out, staying up with the market. And then a lot of it falls back to your employees. You got to have passion and pride in what they do to put out a superior product that people want.
And that's a North Dakota trait, right?
Yes.
A lot of good workers. And how many employees do you have just here in Hebron?
Just here in Hebron, we have about 65 at the plant. For Hebron as a company, we're about 130 total for the whole company.
You know, that's pretty remarkable because you have 30 here at the plant and you're making 30 million bricks. That's a lot of bricks from not a lot of people.
Yep, exactly. So we do, not only make the full brick, but we also started, as back in 2012, we started doing a thin veneer. So we take our brick and we saw off the top and the bottom so it's 1/2 inch thick, which a lot of interior applications. But that market has really grown. Last year we sold 11.5 million of those. Now those you can get way more on a truck, so you can be way more competitive shipping throughout the whole United States.
I imagine part of your success is adapting, like you just said, oh, this is popular. And even your machinery had to go through a lot of changes and updates.
Yep. Yeah, so over the years, in 1998, the previous owners came to either keep the old plant, and Hebron probably wouldn't be around today, or else make a huge investment and build a new facility. So in 1998, they made a $10 million investment and put up a whole new facility with automation to be more competitive in the market.
So just staying up to date, innovation, and I have to think having some good, hardworking North Dakota employees made a big difference too.
Yes, yep.
And do you give tours if somebody wanted to come?
We do.
What would they have to do?
If anybody, so the manufacturing plant hours are 6:30 in the morning Central Time till 3 p.m. And stop in anytime. We're willing to give tours anytime during those hours.
Really? So you don't have to call ahead and plan a group and somebody will show you around?
Larger groups, over 8-10 people. You get over that, then call ahead so we can get some people lined up to give a tour.
I have brought a few groups, so I just want to highly recommend if you're local or if you're traveling this way, it is worthwhile to go get a tour of the Hebron Brick Company.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming on today, Jared. And we'll be right back with Ladies of Another View coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota for the My Hometown.
My Hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by the Brick City Motel and RV Park, Solem Law Office, Hebron Brick Supply. Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
At Service Basin Transportation, just give us a call to arrange transportation within our 7-county ridership. We serve a large area, including many towns, in the Magic City or even to the capital city, Bismarck. Door-to-door service for less cost of an Uber, Lyft, or taxi, for shopping, for dining, for doctor's appointments, for visiting. It's Minot's most convenient way to travel to Bismarck, within Minot, or anywhere within our 7-county region. Service Basin Transportation.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
The Wall of Honor pays tribute to local individuals from across the state of North Dakota. On digital indoor billboards, these heroes of the past and present are prominently featured with a photo, name, and their branch of service. Our funding is made possible by donations and advertisers like you.
As a veteran and as a board member, I couldn't think of a better way to help remember the service and sacrifice than celebrating and supporting the Wall of Honor.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Hebron, a traditional small town surrounded by clay buttes and rich farmland. A community with thriving businesses and comforts not always found in small towns. Surrounded by scenic western North Dakota countryside, just minutes from I-94. Hebron is a family-friendly place perfect for anyone to live, work, and play.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
Welcome back to the Hebron My Hometown, coming to you from Main Street right here in beautiful Hebron, North Dakota. I'm here with Kathy Sardelli. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Kathy is the secretary for the Hebron Community Economic Development Corporation. It's a mouthful and it's an amazing organization too. And you're also a business owner.
I am.
So you're the perfect person to talk about all of this.
Maybe, yeah.
You are, I know you are, because a lot of people said you got to talk to Kathy because you left the area and came back, but you're originally from Hebron, right?
Yep, so I am a born and raised Hebronite. I was raised on a farm northeast of Hebron. I was the typical North Dakota export after college, which was, I can't wait to get out of this place. So I left for the cities in Minneapolis, and lo and behold, after 15 years away, ended up right back here of my own accord with a husband and a brand new baby.
And I keep hearing that story over and over throughout North Dakota small towns, but I'm hearing it in Hebron, where people left for, you know, big, exciting city life, but then they came back and they really began to value what you have here. And what I love about your life and what you're doing is your testimony to that, where you can find everything you need here in Hebron. I mean, yeah, maybe there's not the big shopping malls, but there are things even better here. The community that you have built. And a lot of people think, well, the business, Main Street, economic development. And so what are you doing here in Hebron to make that work?
So several years ago, I feel like I was called one day to not only know what Hebron's Economic Development Council did, but to become a part of it. So, so I did. The Hebron Economic Development Corporation really exists as a facilitating organization, kind of a, maybe a maestro and maybe not a maestro, maybe a conductor, pulling and trying to facilitate cooperation, identifying needs within the community. You know, from a 10,000-foot view, the Economic Development Corporation exists to build and maintain, you know, a vibrant, prosperous, sustainable community. As facilitators, there, you know, really, if you ask me, so what projects is the Economic Development Corporation working on? They would all fall in the category of maybe not necessarily our project, but the corporation is absolutely supporting finding resources, whether it be our own monetary donations or grants that we know about, and other resources. The council really, or the corporation really, kind of has two focuses. So one area of strategic focus would be, you know, truly in marketing Hebron. You know that the first impression that one has is normally the lasting impression that they have. And so maintaining vibrancy is really critical, I think, to small towns. And
I want to hear about some of the projects, because this all sounds fantastic, but you're doing it. You're not just saying, oh, this sounds good, it's a nice little soundbite. So what are some of the projects that you have taken on?
So some of the projects, so recently we helped the city update all of the branding and the messaging. So updated the website, making sure that the message that we were sending as a community was one of being open to business and again, vibrant. Another project that we are currently working on is facilitating the building of a walking path, so kind of along that strategic focus of improving quality of life for the community. But projects that you know, really we became very passionate about was the building of a new daycare. It was, you know, there definitely was a void, and the community was truly poised to be losing what sustains a small town, which is your young families. You need them. And there was no daycare facilities. So that was a project that the EDC definitely supported, helped financially. It is a phenomenal success story. And again, wasn't our project necessarily, but one that we were very much a part of. Another one that we are very much a part of that, you know, we wear multiple hats. So I'm on the EDC, but I am also on the board of what's called the Brick City Promoters. So that is a project that a group of people got together to sustain a restaurant business. We were at a critical junction where we were going to lose our full-service restaurant, and so the group formed and bought an old building. They're renovating it in order to keep a full-service restaurant, which, by the way, is the heart of a city.
Well, it is, and it's unique to a small town. So we have people, you know, throughout North Dakota and across the country. I'm originally from a big city, but I've been in North Dakota for 33 years. And you don't stop and think how important things like a grocery store, a theater. I always say if you come to a small town, buy your gas, do a little shopping, eat there, go to the grocery store. And so in a small town, though, you make it your business that they're going to be healthy and prosperous.
Yep.
And so when you talk about a restaurant in a bigger city, they come and go. But here, you're making it work.
Yes, we are. And the project, like I said, that project is very exciting and not for the faint of heart, but by gosh and by golly, it's going to succeed.
What are some of the things that you have to do just practically without getting too complicated?
So practically, it was a vacant building. The first thing that had to be done is it had to be gutted, so taken down to the studs and reframed. Now we're doing it for a restaurant. Then the North Dakota flat roof syndrome had to be taken care of because it had an old foam covering on the roof. We completed that last summer, and that was huge because nothing else can go forward until your roof doesn't leak anymore. Now we are in the process of, framing it out, putting the equipment in, putting new HVAC, putting, new electrical, new hardwood floors. So it's a soup to nuts project, and like I said, it's not for the faint of heart. There are many times you go in there, and we live by, the gifts of time, talent, and treasure from our local community and the Army that we can recruit that are related to us. But it's often daunting, and then you'll have a great day of work, and you're like, yep, we're gonna win on this one. This is gonna go.
And it's exciting that you make a difference. And
Right.
so, as well as being a great community, you put on community events. Can you mention some of the highlights?
Sure. So as a kid growing up in Hebron, one of the biggest, funnest times was the Hebron Fall Festival, which the Lions have been sponsoring that since 1928. The biggest thing, of course, is the parade, and then there are, food and fun games. So that continues, and it is fun. It is everything you imagine a small town to be. The business club, very, very active organization, does a watermelon days in July, which of course includes watermelon, but it also includes turtle races and much fun for the kids. The business club also does Santa Claus Day. So as a kid, I remember going to the movies on Santa Claus Day for the free movie and seeing Santa. They continue that as well.
And the movie in town, Mayor Theater is amazing, and I love these community theaters where volunteers come and work.
Right.
And so the kids get to take tickets, and it's just a fun gathering, and that is really unique, a high quality of life, I think.
It is for a small town.
Yeah, right. And now Hebron Tough Trucks events?
So Tough Trucks is an organization that they sponsor mud runs and truck pulls throughout the summer. So they'll have 3 to 4 events at a track that is west of Hebron called the Hazel Memorial Recreational Track. But that is something that is definitely not what you would expect to normally find, and it's definitely a kind of off the beaten path, draws people from all over. It's a really fun event.
Fun and unique, yeah. And
Very
so
unique.
where would somebody go to find out more about Hebron and look and see what's coming up?
So Hebron's website, hebronnd.org, has a page, a calendar, as well as their Facebook page. So the Hebron community also has a Facebook page where people can look and see what's
going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to mention very quickly, you're also a business owner, and you've worked with Mark Drabe, and I love that he sold a company, a software company for trucking, that actually had a reality TV show that was kind of attached. And now you're into another business. And I just want to make the point that you can be successful, you can have a business that it becomes nationwide, even in little small towns like Hebron, North Dakota.
Not every business, of course, is the right fit because, if you need a store or if you need walk-in traffic, it might not be the best place. But for a technology company that we sell our solutions remotely, it was a great fit and an incredibly welcoming and warm environment, not only in Hebron, but to bring the business from Colorado back to North Dakota. Not to diss Colorado, but a great win for North Dakota and for Hebron.
And Mark Drabe came back home too. You guys were classmates, and now you're a business owner.
Yes.
So thank you, Kathy, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
And when we come back in just a minute, we're coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota.
hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by Hebron Brick Supply, West River Telecom, Farmers Union Oil Company, Glen Ellen and Hebron.
Tax audits, tax liens, wage garnishments.
Every day we hear stories like this about good folks who are simply struggling to pay their bills. Each of them are living a frightening IRS tax nightmare, and they are afraid it will destroy their lives. If you are worried that the IRS could garnish your wages, seize your assets, even take your home, call us right now. The Tax Relief Line is here to help you. Now you have a knowledgeable, professional team of tax experts that are ready to negotiate with the IRS and fight for you to save you money. The Tax Relief Line's professionals have successfully negotiated thousands of cases, reducing and sometimes even eliminating the tax debt for their clients. Simply call the number on your screen right now. You don't have to live in fear anymore. The call and the consultation are free.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
Hebron, a traditional small town surrounded by clay buttes and rich farmland. A community with thriving businesses and comforts not always found in small towns. Surrounded by scenic western North Dakota countryside, just minutes from I-94. Hebron is a family-friendly place perfect for anyone to live, work, and play.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
My hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by Bob Burkmeyer Construction Management, the Hebron Herald, Mayer Theater,
Welcome back to the Hebron My Hometown Show, and I'm here now with Chris Steiger, who is the manager of Walled Fencing and Supplies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Patty, for having me.
So I couldn't not have you. You just were so animated when I met you putting the show together about Hebron and what a great community it is. And why don't we start by talking about Walled Fencing? Why? I know there's two branches, right? Tell me about that.
Yes, our headquarters station is in Wishick, North Dakota. They found a need for quality fencing material and animal supply products out here in the Hebron area. In 2018, they purchased the Hebron Farmers Elevator, and we've turned that into a supply chain along with feed, mineral, and also animal health products.
And you are one of the people that left, but came back.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you left, you didn't go too far. You were in Bismarck, which isn't a huge city, but you still wanted to come back and raise your family in Hebron. Why is that?
Right, there was always a connection to Hebron from being born and raised, knowing everybody in the community. My wife is also from a small town, so we both understood the benefits and the opportunities to raise a family in a small town. And with Hebron, with having a daycare and a very powerful school system, excellent teachers, we were able to bring our family back to Hebron and also have quality jobs in our community.
You know, speaking of the daycare, when I was talking with Kathy on Economic Development Corporation, helped make that daycare a reality. I understand that first of all, there was a need. and young families needed some daycare, and you want them to stay in Hebron. So how did that all come about?
Basically, what happened was the Hebron Economic Development Board did a survey, and we found that the #1 issue preventing young families coming to Hebron was a place that they could bring their kids, daycare. And so from that point on, we started looking at a community daycare with the board of directors, and it's been in operation for 2 years now. The Bearcat Den Daycare employs 5 people, and we have 28 children in the daycare. So it's an opportunity for people to have employment and also opportunity to have childcare. And that's a big hindrance, I guess, if you want to move to a small town, to have access to childcare. So we've overcome that barrier to coming back to the small towns. And with the jobs that are available in Hebron, the opportunity for childcare, and to also have a good school system that's very strong with the education side and the social part of the Hebron school system, it's very enticing for young families to come back to Hebron now.
Right, because you're looking at all those things that, like, if we want to live and work, this is what we need.
Correct.
So do you actually use the daycare yourself?
Yes, we have 1 child left in the daycare. My older 4 girls, they're now in the Hebron public school system.
And this is the same school system that you went to, so you know it. Are
Yes.
there any of the same teachers there?
Yes, they are.
Cool.
And it is really interesting when you've graduated from college or high school, and 20 years later you still refer to your teachers with their sir or miss name. So
I don't think you ever get over that.
No, it's a respect thing, and that shows how much respect that I had for the teachers, and even the new teachers there are good friends. In our community, everybody knows everybody. So that is one of the things that my wife and I really cherish is it takes a community to raise a family, and you definitely see that here, whether you go grocery shopping or you go to church. Everybody knows each other afterwards, and it's unique because a lot of times people can think that there's nothing to do in a small town, but I think that you can almost be too busy in a small town, and there's so many opportunities for extracurricular things. One thing that we kind of haven't covered was the Hebron Wildlife Gun Club that just held their annual Big Buck contest that had about 300 people come to Hebron. And what's interesting about the Hebron Wildlife Gun Club is it's one of these opportunities in a small town to be able to do things with your family. So they have a gun club east of town, and some of the activities that they do besides the Big Buck contest is having a night trap shoot. So you can go out and shoot trap with your kids or the family. And they're also looking at doing hunter education in the future for the young children. Also with an archery range that's becoming very popular.
Wow, I know trap shooting is one of the fastest growing sports in the country.
Yes.
I only learned that from doing these My Hometown shows. So that is exciting. And there is a lot to do, right? You're not just sitting around. Plus you farm and ranch.
Yes, we farm and ranch. My wife and I farm and ranch with my mom and dad. We run a cow-calf operation, all family-based. When we work cattle, it's all of us are out in the barn and helping. So it complements everything that we're doing. My daughter sells eggs in town now, and she's now known as the egg girl or the chicken girl at school. So it's a lot of fun. These are opportunities that we don't think that we would have had if we wouldn't be in a small community, and especially Hebron. Being born and raised here, it was really a great opportunity to come back.
You know, that's why I asked you, just in having a conversation with you, I thought, I want you on the show because you're talking about opportunity. And a lot of times people think you have to leave a small town to find opportunity, but there's different kind of opportunities here. That is a higher quality of living for many people.
It absolutely is. And like I said earlier, we take for granted when earlier in our life, and then once we leave, we find out that a lot of those things that we took for granted is really what means a lot to us in the end. So yes, it's a great opportunity. If you're a young family, there are opportunity here for raising a family and also getting a good job in Hebron. If you're retiring, there's great opportunities with our Senior Citizens Center. They get together every day and even to a quilting club if you're interested in quilting. You know, there's just so many things when you sit back and you look at all the things that Hebron offers that's exciting, and that you can come to this town and fit right in on the first day.
I've seen it. I met somebody who retired. She came here in her 60s, I think, and it's home to her now.
Yep.
So it really says a lot about a community. Thank you so much for coming, Chris, and talking about Hebron.
Thank you, Patty.
And we'll be right back right after this.
My Hometown in Hebron, brought to you in part by the Brick City Motel and RV Park, Solem Law Office, Hebron Brick Supply.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your support by bringing you the pillow that started it all. Get my standard My Pillow, regularly $49.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Just like all of you, I've tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented My Pillow. My patented fill adjusts your exact individual needs, helps keep your neck aligned, and it holds its shape all night long, regardless of your sleep position. So you get the best sleep of your life. Because it works, we've sold over 70 million My Pillows, and now I'm bringing them to you for the lowest price ever. Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code, and you'll get my standard My Pillow for only $19.98. For a more custom fit, my Premium Queen for only $27.98. Or my Premium King, only $34.98. My 60-day money-back guarantees it'll be the most comfortable pillow you'll ever own.
Now you can have the personalized forecast at your fingertips when you need it. Beck's exclusive Weather Insight is information tailored to you. Radar, weather alerts, forecasts, and videos. Download the free Weather on Beck News app. Search your app store now.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
We look forward to serving you here at your local community bank.
Hebron, a traditional small town surrounded by clay buttes and rich farmland. A community with thriving businesses and comforts not always found in small towns. Surrounded by scenic western North Dakota countryside, just minutes from I-94. Hebron is a family-friendly place perfect for anyone to live, work, and play.
Red Trail Energy Incorporated creates economic benefit for the investors, local communities, as well as the state of North Dakota by converting natural resources and regional corn production into ethanol and beneficial co-products. Red Trail Energy in Richardson.
Welcome back to My Hometown, coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota. And I'm here now with Robin Reynolds, who is a studio potter and the owner of Dakota Clay Works. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on today, because you are my prime example of somebody who's not even from Hebron, but calls it home now. How did you end up in Hebron, North Dakota?
Well, I'm born and raised in North Dakota. I grew up in Minot, and I went to college at Dickinson State. And I had a classmate who grew up in Hebron, and he'd taken me on a tour of the Hebron Brickyard. And so I knew about Hebron and the Hebron Brickyard and the clay in North Dakota. And so I ended up in Hebron to make pottery with Hebron clay.
You were living in the state of Washington, though, for
Right.
like, was it 20 years?
Yeah, I lived
20
there.
years.
Yeah.
And you heard about the good clay here.
Right.
But you have to have a lot more than clay to keep somebody here.
Right. Well, the work of working with indigenous materials is part of my background. We did a lot of work with Mount St. Helens ash out when I lived in Washington. When I went through my apprenticeship, part of that was harvesting tons and tons of Mount St. Helens ash and then formulating it into different glazes. And hit a certain point in my life where I was examining what I wanted, what the highlight had been of my pottery career. And I realized it had been working with Mount St. Helens ash. So I thought, well, I want to keep working with indigenous materials. And because I knew a bit about the geology of North Dakota, I made a decision to sell my store in Bellingham, Washington, that I'd owned for 6 years. And I moved back to North Dakota to make pottery with North Dakota clay. And basically following up on that original tour of the brickyard that I'd taken many, many years ago with Ken Rogers, whose father was he was the manager and the foreman of the Hebron Brick Company. So, so I had a very nice tour all those years before that never quite left my mind. I thought, if I ever come back to North Dakota, I'm coming back for the clay and I'm going to come to Hebron. And I did it.
And I know you're a very vital part of the community. You're not just sitting making pottery, which, by the way, the pot behind Robin, she made.
Yeah.
And you have beautiful pottery and you teach classes, and we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me about that.
Well, what was that question?
Well, being part of the community.
Oh yeah,
that
the
you
community.
You don't just make pottery.
I was back here on the potter's wheel.
Yeah,
I was like, okay. Well, I grew up in a family that believed in volunteering, and the example of my grandmother and my parents and the work that they did, and also their adherence to doing things and making purchases locally. I mean, as a kid growing up, on Sundays we'd go around buying gas, and my dad would make sure that we went to gas stations that did business with Bacon Sign Company, which was the family business. In fact, Bacon Sign Company, as a side note, was started the same year as the Hebron Brick Company and stayed in the family until about 6 years ago when Bruce Bacon sold it. So I understood a little bit about community through my family. And so when I moved here, after several years of researching Hebron clay and trying to turn that raw material into pottery, I then was able to turn my attention more to volunteering in the community.
And now you give classes.
Yeah.
And I know what a fun way to have a birthday party, that if a group gets together, they can call you, whether individual or groups. So how would somebody find you if they wanted to take pottery classes?
Well, I'm in the phone book, and I have a website, ndclay.net, and there's a mechanism through there to contact me. And so I offer classes on an on-call basis.
As well as the pottery, you're involved in the Old Red Trail.
I am.
And we're going to do an entire show on the Old Red Trail because it is the most historical highway in all of North Dakota. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, the shop wasn't attracting a lot of people, and I thought this beautiful road that I drove all the time between Mandan and Dickinson to stay off of the interstate. I did a little fact finding and discovered through the Economic Development Corporation in Hebron that there was some energy to look into creating a scenic byway. So a member of the EDC and I spent basically 2 years, slowly but surely, writing a grant to create a scenic byway between Mandan and Dickinson to enhance these 7 towns between Mandan and Dickinson.
And to have that as an official designation, a scenic byway, that's a federal designation, right?
It's a state designation.
A state designation,
right,
okay.
Right.
But what does it mean when you're designated? You got a grant, you had to apply for it?
Right, we did. We had to go through an extensive review process. And the process and the grant writing and so forth, and then we met with all of the heads of every department in North Dakota in order to review this application. And so in 2008, we became a designated state scenic byway. There are 10 byways in North Dakota.
And there is a website, Old 10.
Old 10, Old Red, Old 10.com.
Old 10. And it is so much history from forts to George Custard walked some of that, European pilgrims. So yeah, it's definitely worth taking a look into and taking a road trip on the Old Red.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us today, Robin.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us for the My Hometown, coming to you from Hebron, North Dakota.